Okay, so for this video, we're going to look at activity 2, which is where we're going to start doing the validation. So we'll assume at this point you've got your 4 tables set up, your data types are set, and you've created your relationships between each table. So it should look something like this. If I jump to my supplier table ready, because that's where we're going to do the first bit of validation, in here we've got the first activity, which is a bit more difficult than normal. It says a record for a new supplier will not save if the email address is not in the correct format, which we're going to do in the validation rule section. So just down by here. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in what's at first going to look fairly complex in terms of validation. But I'm going to talk you through it step by step once I've put it in. So I'm going to click in validation rule and I'm going to start inputting the characters that we need. So we're going to start with a star, a question mark, an at, another question mark, another star, a full stop, a question mark, and another star. So if we look at that now in detail, that looks like a load of gibberish. But essentially what this means is a star symbol means any number of characters. So you can see we've started it here with a star. It's put the word like in automatically for me because it just means something like this. A question mark means exactly one character. And so essentially what we've got here is there must be at least one letter or number before the at symbol, because we know an email address must have an at symbol. So that's why that is there. Then we've got another question mark and a star. Oh, sorry. So that means there must be at least one letter or number after the at symbol. There must be a dot, which is why that full stop is there. And then at least another letter or character. So that's what the question mark and the star means. That's why those are there. That should allow people to type in an email address which automatically has an at symbol. So it satisfies all the criteria for the validation rule. Remember, we're going for top marks. So we're going to put in a message very quickly. Please enter a valid email address. And that should tell the user what they need to do to improve. And that's the first of the activities done. If we just very quickly jump to the second one. So the second question is here. So the second one is a record for a new supplier will not save if the email address is not present. So we're still on the email address, so we can keep our database on the same screen. We're still in the validation rule, and we're going to jump to the start of it because I want it to assess that first. I want it to check that the email address has been completed with something first. And that's our standard. They pretty much always ask for this, and it's usually the first one. But we're going to say is not null. But because we've also got another rule in there, we also need to tell the database that this is 2 rules that we want it to apply. So we use the function and. So basic email address cannot be left blank and must look like a valid email address. So that's 2 in 1 there. That would be your screenshot that would cover both for your length check and format check. Also your presence check. So that's that one there. The next one, if we look at the question, is a record for a new supplier will not save if the supplier name is not present. So we have to get a supplier name that is completed. So that's your other presence check. So they're giving you another opportunity to do that. So if we go to supplier name, we just jump in here, exactly the same rule as we just put in, is not null. And then you would again put your little message to the user. It can be anything as long as it tells them how to complete it. So please enter supplier name. So that tells them how they can correct the error. So that's 2 not nulls, which is quite nice because they're quite easy to do and they come up very frequently. The next one then is when it starts to get more difficult. This is one of the questions where they assume a higher level of skill, but it comes up in pretty much every paper. So you can learn how to do this really quickly. This one says a record for a new product. So that's telling me where I'm doing it. That's the table I'm going to use. Will not save if the product category ID is invalid. So that product category ID comes from another table. So what we need to do, and they always ask for this, is a drop-down list from another table. we just close this, we're going to save, we might get a warning. Oh, there we go. So in our product table here, we've also got the product category ID. So what it wants is us to make sure the user can only select product category IDs that exist in this table over here. So that's why I got product from the question and product category ID shows up there. So I'm going to go into that table, into design view. There's my product category ID, and we're going to make a drop down list. It's always this process. So we go to lookup wizard. You may have to break the relationships, which is what I've got to do now. So I'll need to close that product table. I need to get rid of that relationship temporarily. It will remake it once I've made the drop down list automatically. So I haven't got to come back and do it. Into here, design view. There's my category. So drop down list using the lookup wizard. Now, normally we type in the values we want. In this case, we're going to get them from another table because that data technically already exists somewhere else. So I leave that top one selected, click next. Now I tell it which table I want to get that from. So that comes from the category table. Click next. You can always preview it anyway at this stage. If you pick the wrong table, you can just go back. I need the product category ID. I choose that. Now there's no data in my database, so the next screen is going to show blank. Yours should show the data that you've entered in already. So you should have a list of numbers there. I'm going to say that's fine. And I'm going to click finish. I've got to save it. If I jump back to my relationships, it should, when I refresh that in a bit, it should put that relationship back in for me. So if I close that, and hopefully I haven't messed that up by leaving it open. Yeah, there we go. There's the relationship put back in for me. It does look slightly different, but it still completes exactly the same purpose. Now your evidence for this part here, you go to look up at the bottom and you make sure you screenshot this row here that shows you are getting that data from another table. And that is almost all the validation rules complete. I'm just going to jump back to the question for the last part. And the last one is like a 2-for-1. So if we look at the last two, they often do this. A record will not save if days to pay is below the range, and a record will not save if pay is above the accepted range. So the range was given earlier on in the paper, and it's between 14 and 30 days. So all we've got to do is set a validation rule that will cover both of those things. And that's in the supplier section. There's days to pay. We go design view. Here's our days to pay. Down to validation rule, and this is a very straightforward one. It runs almost like straight English, and we say to only allow a number between 14 and, which is an operator, 30. So you've got to use that and. If you don't write the word and, it's not going to work properly. Again, going for top marks, so we are going to put in a little message to the user. If I could type. Just to tell them how to correct their mistake. And that is 6 out of 6 marks for your validation. That's activity 2 complete.